So, good morning, good evening, and here is an introduction to PowerPoint design. So, what might we talk about? First, we're going to talk about the overview of the design, tips to avoid reworking, going over simple movements, creating movement, how to highlight the algorithm, how to use a picture to highlight parts of the algorithm. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about is how to create movement and some basic ways that things can move. So first off, we're going to look at this gel and capillary. So first I'm going to show you what it's going to look like when we are finished. Okay, so we're going to start with our blank canvas. So we open up, right? And we start with a blank slide. And then we're going to enter on our title. And we're going to center our title. And then I'm going to add our two types of electrophoresis, that's gel and capillary. Now you're going to see here that I don't have gel and capillary, but in order for these to do the movement that we want to see, we have to put them in their own separate text boxes. So again, I've gone and I've separated that out, and then you're going to have to line them up a little bit, make them the same sizes, that kind of thing. So that's what we're seeing here, is that I'm just readjusting these guys so they look like they're in one line of text and not actually separate as they actually really are. So once I've got this all lined up the way I want it to do, you're going to see that I'm going to duplicate this slide. Now, you're going to see two common themes throughout all of the work that I'm going to show you, and that's duplicating slides, not creating new ones, and keeping elements the same from one slide to the next. Okay, so I just duplicated that slide. So now it's going to know that these elements are the same. So now I'm going to add my colored bar where my gel and capillary are going to go into two separate fields there. I'm going to bring that to the front, going up here to arrange and bring forward, bring to the front. And then I'm going to change the color of it to white. And then I use my arrow keys in order to kind of make it smooth, because when things are moving and they're not exactly on the same level, you'll find that you get these jerky movements when it's transitioning from one slide to the next. So I use my arrow keys to kind of move them around to make them a smoother transition. So now that we've got these guys all in the same spot, now I'm going to add my two pictures. So these two pictures, if you remember, they're here, and then for the next slide they fly off to the left and the right. So the gel to the left and the capillary to the right. So again, just like I said before with our common thread, we're going to duplicate this slide. Okay, and now we're going to use my arrows to take this off. And again, if I don't use my arrows and I'm up a little bit, then it's going to fly in kind of a northwestern direction. And I don't want it to do that. I want it to do a straight kind of thing. So So now we're going to add in our table and then bring our gel and capillary forward so that doesn't change. Okay, and then we're gonna highlight all three of those, and then we're going to apply morph. So you go to transitions and morph. And so that is what creates the differences between the two. Okay, I'm just cleaning up some stuff. So that is what makes it move. And each time, if you make little differences, then you won't get the movements that you want. So if you see it moving the way you want it to, then just kind of move where it's coming from and where it ends, you know, one of the two, to see and make sure that that's the way you want it to look. You have to kind of be creative and kind of work with stuff. And as you see now, you can see the morph, it goes away, and now the table appears. Okay, so I'm gonna see that. I'm gonna duplicate this, but first I copy and pasted what's gonna be on the next slide to the under part of that slide, so below it right there. And then I duplicated this slide. Then I got rid of the table, and now I'm moving up from where it started to where I want it to be. That's PEP. And so I'm going to put a little element there. And this is the next step. Now, so after this slide, then I want the elements for the SPEP words to go to the left and the picture to go to the right. And I want this ITE information to flow up into the, just like the other one. So I'm going to add that, then duplicate. Then I can get rid of these pictures and I can separate these out. So ungroup these and then move that SPEP to that side. And move the picture element to the left. Again, using my my keys. And then moving the ITE information up. And then I don't like the green thing being too long. So I'm going to click on that, but I can't click on it because it's within the elements. I'm gonna have to do through the different elements so I can select it and just tab to the one you want, and then I'm gonna make it smaller. Okay, and then once I apply the morph transition, you'll see that comes up, but it didn't slide out, so there was something wrong. That's what I'm looking at now. Figure out what happened here. Why did those not fly out? And I think it's because they were grouped. So I'm gonna ungroup it, and then I'm gonna see that one's also grouped. So I'm gonna ungroup that one as well, so that the elements can separate. And hopefully that will now make my transition work the way I want it to. And there we go. It sure did. All right, now I'm going to speed up the next part because I do the same things for the next 2 slides. Okay, so now it's time to look at our finished project. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at creating motion. So we're going to take a look at this slideshow, and you can see that the elements are shifting throughout. This is somewhat similar to, we're just building on what we've already seen. Okay, so first thing, of course, is starting off with our blank slide, and we're going to just give it some color. And then we're going to bring in some elements. So maybe something you have or maybe haven't seen in the past. I'm just resizing the elements there to make sure that they're hitting all ends of the actual screen that can be seen. So now I want to decide on bringing in this particular smart phrase element, and I'm going to update the color. Now, something maybe you have heard known in the past is that you can separate out the elements in this. And so how you do that is I'm going to ungroup them, and then I am going to just take these two parts here, and then I'm going to you're going to ungroup those. You're going to ungroup the whole thing, so you should see something like that. Then when I highlight just these two, I'm going to group them so I can just move those together and they stay together. Do the same for the other two. And then for that element, I'm going to get rid of it because I don't actually want that. I want something that's larger. Okay, so now what I can do is bring in a different picture. Actually, I'm going to color these first. Okay, now that we've recolored, now we need to add that element to bring our circle back. So we can follow a line. So we're going to add a circle, and we want to make it large enough that it creates that circle look, and I'm going to line it up as best I can with these three here. Yeah. And that looks about good. And I don't want the whole circle. There are different ways you can get rid of that, but I am just going to not fill it, and I'm going to change the color of the lines. And then I'm going to bring all three of my little things here to the front so they're on top of that line. And voila, now we have the same kind of look as what we're looking for. So now we just need to add our text boxes and see our next information. So we're going to add all of those, but we're also going to duplicate these, so kind of see how that works here. Okay, so now that we've got these all colored and all of the pictures, or rather the writing in there, we can now duplicate this last one here. And then we're going to move it just outside of this. So we want to think about the path that we want the last one to follow. And then we're going to duplicate that again, and we want to move them slowly outside of the visible region, because if they're like, if we move this bottom one and we just have this bottom one and the top one, then it's going to move right through the visible screen when you're doing the transition. So, excuse me. So this is where your creativity, and you really have to kind of think about the flow and what you want it to look like. So we're going to replace this top information with the next one we want to come on, we want to make sure that the one on the bottom matches what's on the last that's in the visible screen. And then this one that I'm on now will be the one that will enter the screen second. And then this bottom one, or the second to last one, would be this one here, would be second to last information. Okay. So now we're going to put the last one that's going to go in this one, because we're on this slide, but we're going to duplicate this slide. Now, this last one has to equal that one. So we're going to move that down, move the blood cultures one over. Then this one, you're going to move up from the EKG. The EKG to this dummy, this dummy over here. I'm going to have to try to highlight the one in the back so we can get the chief one. All right, so move that one down, and then the with the PMH one down here, and there we go. So now we have this last one down here is equal to what was the last one up top, and now we're going to duplicate that, and we're going to do exactly the same thing, except now this one that says 53, or I'm sorry, yeah, 53-year-old male. When we move it, after we move everything, we're going to change that one. Well, before we move everything, really, we're going to change the text there to be what would follow blood cultures line that you see above that. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to speed this up so you can kind of see how these are moving around. It's the same thing over and over. We just keep moving them around. We changed this one that's moving and change that one. And then we move them all, and then we'll see what it looks like at the end. Here's the last couple of movements here, and then we can see what the entire effect looks like that we created here. So the last slide, moving that down, moving all of these together, and here we go. That's that, and now we can go back to the top, hit the transition morph, and hit the presentation. Well, it's not bad, but the top one is like not following the line. It's more coming from a little more western direction instead of north. Not especially excited about that. So the way to fix that is to move the position that this is starting from. So now I'm going to move this a little more up instead of west or leftwise. And that's better. Not great, but better. That's better. I like that. All right, so I just need to do the same thing with all the rest of them. Just move them more. There we go. So we get that more following the line as they enter the screen instead of coming in more left to right. Yeah, I like that better. So now you've kind of seen how you can kind of troubleshoot this. So let's look at it again. And yeah, I like that one. That entrance was good. That one was good too. Yep. So I've definitely found what works better for this particular slide set. We adjust these a little bit more. That's how you can do these for this. You can move them a little closer, but you have to be careful because as you do that, did you see it right there in that corner there? You saw it kind of, it crossed. So now this is too close. So that's why you can't bring them too close to the edge. And that's why you have to do this whole, moving them outside of the visible area, because when you move them too close, then they're going to cross the visual plane in order to get to where they're going in the next transition. Okay, now that we've seen some of those, now we're going to see how we can highlight our information. So we remember these kinds of slides where we have lots of, and then we transition to seeing just the important parts. Same thing here, but a little bit of different take where instead of we have just like the whole top part. And then this one we have where we grayed them out and we have some circles. Okay, so starting on how to do this, first we're going to just move our laboratory values over. You see there's a bunch that's below, but that's because we're going to move those up eventually. So I gotta recolor these a little bit because the copy and paste made them a little bit the wrong color. All right, now we've got them all the right color. So now we're ready to do the next part. Like before, we're going to duplicate our slide, and then we are going to emphasize those values by making them larger, and we're going to create a sort of cover up for the other ones. There's different ways to do this. Ready to create our cover up. So we're going to insert a shape, and we're going to make it the size of what we don't want to see. Well, and the other things so basically the rest of the screen. And then we're going to create a window that we can see those platelets and segs. So how do we do this exactly? Well, we are going to make this see-through so we can see what we're covering up, and we're going to actually add another shape right over what we do want to see. Now this next part, depending on in which order you highlight your shapes, is going to depend, it's going to reflect on what happens. Okay, so I need to make my bigger rectangle visible again. So once I do that, then I highlight the smaller rectangle. I go up here to subtract, and there you are. you can see the top part. Of course, I've got some lines there that I'm going to get rid of. And you can see what you want to see, but not what you don't want to see. And then what we have to do is apply our morph transition. And we can see what that will look like. And there we are. So very similar to what we saw before. So now one thing I didn't think about before was that I want this table to go up, but behind this lab values. And in order to do that, we need to put something behind it to give it that illusion. So I'm going to put in another rectangle here. And we're going to make it white so that it is, you can't really detect it. And we're going to put it behind the lab values. So it still has lines, so we need to get rid of those two. Okay, now it's pretty much invisible. You can't tell. We're going to duplicate this. And then you'll see now that when I move my values up so I can see the next group, you'll see that they go behind this lab values instead of covering it. Well, they should have. Problem is that this here is in front of our white. So now we had to put it, send it behind, and now it goes behind that. So now that morph will give that effect of it moving up and behind the lab values. Okay, now this just is going to speed up because what I messed up here is I forgot to notice that the test units of the title bar wasn't on the next, above the BUN where the next group was going to go. So I tried to put that there, but then that didn't really flow right. And so then I had to delete everything and then go again. So that's kind of one of those things where it's, you have to kind of think ahead of time, or you might have to redo things to make them all work. So basically, I've just done everything again, making sure that I have that line to have the lab values at the top and everything go behind it. Okay, so now we're ready to start with the next part, where we can duplicate and then expand that BUN down to, I believe lactate is what I had before, I think. Oh, we'll see. Make those all bigger. And again, lactic acid, yeah. So I made those all bigger, and then I created another one of those, just blacking out the bottom couple that I don't want to show. So I don't have to create like the two different things there in order to black that out, but that's what I could do. In this instance, I'm just going to gray it out, and I'll have the same kind of effect, I think. But we'll see more when we actually do it on the whole presentation again, the presenter mode. So now I'm just going to keep cleaning it up, making it a little more like presented like we want it, and then making sure that the values that we want highlighted are highlighted, and everything's grayed out on the visible screen. And then once we're done with that, we will take a look at the presentation. All right, so now we're going to look at a different way to highlight those laboratory values. First, we're going to look at what it looks like in the finished product. Right, so now we can start with our blank PowerPoint, and first going to go ahead and copy and paste that first screen. Okay, and like we've kind of seen before, we need to pre-think what we want it to look like. So we want those values to come on the screen. So we're going to copy and paste, but you would build these if you were building your presentation. You would build these outside, you know, but I'm just going to copy and paste them so I'm not wasting your time building things like that. So what I want to do is bring all of those different tables and paste them in about the area they'll be in when they move onto the visible screen. So that's what I'm doing here. So then we want to duplicate this slide. And then what we'll do is have our medical history. We'll change that heading to lab values. And then we will delete the items we don't want. So this will fade out. And then we will move our first group onto the screen. And move our lab values to the side. So once we have that, we can duplicate our slide, and then we can move it how we want it to move. And I'm going to have this CBC grouping move over, again using my arrows on my keyboard. And then we're going to have the POAG table move up, again using the arrows. Well, actually I did use my mouse on that one, but then I used the arrows to adjust it. And I'm just going to move the chemistry table up here now so I can adjust the coag so I don't have to do that on the last slide. I just want it to go right into the space that I want it to go in, and then I'll move that chemistry back down to have good spacing. Again, duplicate, move that chemistry up, again using the arrows. And that's it. Now I'm going to take a look at each of these. They look like I want them to. That's good. And then I'm going to highlight all of these guys, apply my morph transition, and then we can look at the final product. Now we're going to look at how we can move some text on and off the screen in a slightly different way, creating some movement in your product. So creating this movement is a little bit very much like the other things that we've seen. So I built these out, and so it's just a series of different things that I've kind of put together. They're all together in a list kind of thing by grouping them. And then I paste this on the screen. But in order to get them to look like they're going behind things, we've kind of seen this before, where we put this white rectangle. In this case, we're going to put it at the top and the bottom. And then we're going to send our actual data that we're looking at, we're going to send it to the back. So it goes behind this white rectangle, and it gives the effect of kind of a scrolling or credits kind of look without interfering with the flow of the text that's already on the screen. All right, so now we've completed all of this work, and now we can see what it looks like in the actual presentation mode. All right, now let's look at something called zooming in. That's specific to PowerPoint, and it's something somewhat new. And we're just going to look at a couple of ways it can be used in the next two sections. Okay, so let's see how this one is accomplished. So this is actually somewhat easy. What we do here is first we're going to just, put a background, color that in, then we're going to build our little steps that are just going to kind of have our pictures above that. And then our title. All right. And then what we do here is we go to use our data elements, and we are going to create these little icons to go to. But first, what we have to do is we have to put what they're going to go to. So just a little bit of an interesting way to get there. So I just added these three. You can build those out. They don't need any more transition or anything like that. Now that we've done that, what we're going to do is go up here to this slide zoom, and we're going to pick 2. And then we're going to do it again and pick the next slide, which is 3. And we're going to do it again. And we're going to go to slide 4. Now we're going to resize those. Okay. And then all we have to do is click on each of these. Click on the first one. And when we click, it goes to the next one. And we click, it goes to the next one. All right, now this is a slightly different way. Okay, for this one, well, we're going to start off with this algorithm. We're going to split this up because we're going to learn how to do this in the next section. So don't worry if I'm not talking about this and you're not following it. That's okay. We'll see it in the next thing. Okay, then finally we're going to duplicate that slide. But what we need to do is add a section here for this type of going back and forth. So we can name it whatever we want. And then we're going to add our section information. Recolor everything. All of this we've already gone through. But then when we do this zoom in, we're going to go from the first slide to the section. And then once we've gone through all of the slides in the section, it'll take us back to that first slide again. So this time we're going to go to section zoom. And then we're going to click on that section that we want to go to. Again, we have this picture. We can resize the picture. You can even change that picture if you don't like that particular thing by going to change image here, and then you can change it to whatever other picture you want to go, maybe even just the black, so it just blends in with the background. You just have to remember to know where to click on it when you're doing your presentation. Okay. Again, you don't need a transition between 1 and 2, but 2 and 3, or within your section. You want to do that morph transition if you have something there. So when I click on that, it goes to that section, goes through that section, and then when I click again, it will take me back to that one, and then I can continue on through my slides. So we're looking at this here, and we're going to start by clicking and entering in our algorithm. And so now that our algorithm is on the screen, I'm just going to reposition it. And you'll see, going to make the entire area a lot smaller so you can see the whole area. And I'm going to make the algorithm much bigger because. So now we're going to add a shape so that we can cover up what we don't want the audience to see. And in this case, I'm just resizing this, and you'll feel a little like hesitation or click, whatever you want to say, when it hits the outside. So you can actually feel that it's hit the edge. Now I'm going to add a second little box here, and this is going to be my window box, but I want to be able to see what this window is covering up. So I made the bigger box, no fill. Now I have my smaller box that I'm going to cover up what it is that I want to see through the window. So now I've got that box, and I've got the bigger box. And so then I'm going to need to go back and give the bigger box, put that back into a color so that the what I do next works correctly. So now I'm going to make it green. Doesn't matter what the little box color is. And so then I selected the big box and the smaller box. And then I go over here to this and I hit subtract. Now that takes out the little box from the big box and leaves my little opening here. So once I've done that, then I want to duplicate my slide. There we are. And now I can either, adjust my little picture, or I can just move this algorithm to the next area that I want to see. Now, the window is a little bit bigger than I think I want to show. So what I can do then is add another little box to cover up what it is I don't want to be seen. So I've, selected both of those boxes, and that didn't work. So now I've got to back up, and I got to try something different. And so once I hit the combine, that's what works for me. I fix the color, and then I just, where the picture is. And then I want to add morph. And as you see, whenever I add the morph, just like we've seen on other areas, that's how we get that to kind of move. So that's how we can get that morph to move. Now in this case, I'm going to show you a little different as I've centered this out. So this time I'm going to make my smaller box, and then I'm going to make my larger box. As you see, it kind of just like clicks into, the size of the background, which I want to make sure that it does, or else the person who's seeing your presentation will see edges or things like that, or you won't know what is being seen and what's not being seen. So now I've highlighted both my larger box, and then I'm going to highlight my smaller box. But I have to bring that smaller box forward because it's causing me issues. So now it's forward and it's in the front. I'm going to highlight that, and then the bigger box, same time. And that subtract didn't work. And sometimes that's a matter of which you're clicking first and which you're clicking second. So this time I did the bigger box, then the smaller box, and it subtract, and that did what I wanted it to do. So again, anytime I want to do this, I need to duplicate my slides. Now I'm going to adjust this, and I'm going to make a new one. But I have to make sure that whatever I do is very similar to, see, it's not catching the outer corners as well. So I've got to adjust this a little bit. So sometimes these things are trial and error. Right, now to make my smaller box. You can use other things other than just boxes. Obviously, you can use circles, these round-edged boxes, things like that. This one I wanted to make a little bit bigger. It just kind of depends on what you're looking for, what you want to do. You just have to make sure that you're doing this duplicate slides and morphing, and making your pictures consistent from one to the next, or else it will just disappear and come back. So And I highlight the small one and the big one. Go up here to subtract. That did not do what I wanted it to do. So again, you have to go do the big one, then the little one. And then I can do subtract, and there we are. So that's what I wanted. I'm gonna adjust just a little bit. And now we have our morph transition. And there we are. All right, we've made it to the last section. So this is going to be more complicated, but hopefully not too bad. So first we're going to look at the presentation. All right, so we're going to start with that algorithm that we've seen in the previous lesson, but we're going to make this really small. I'm going to zoom out some. Okay, this one is going to be slightly different in that we're going to change this size. So we're going to use this crop to basically resize and create the effect we're looking for. Okay, so I have actually two of these algorithms built on top of each other, and right now I'm resizing one. And then we'll be able to fix the resize each time. So you'll see what I'm talking about. So now I've got the back one that I've highlighted, and now I want to blur that. So I use these presets. You can use those there, or I choose this one here. Now you can adjust that. So you can see that the back algorithm is now very blurry, and you can use these presets in this format window to further, change transparency, blur, clarity, all kinds of things. Okay, so this is what I do to make that background, and then the second one that I cropped here is the one that you can see clearly. So now what I want to do is I'm going to be able to see what's visible easily. So what I'm going to do is that one that's blurry, I'm going to also crop. I have to make it really small, like zoom out a whole lot so I can see everything. And so I'm just going to keep resizing until I'm pretty happy of what's on my visible screen and what's not. So I have to bring that back up. So I'm going to keep messing with this sizing and everything to make sure that it's the way I want it to look, at least at this point. So I don't think that at first I thought I wanted it to fill the screen, but then I changed my mind, and so we're going to speed it up as I mess with the aesthetics of how I want it to look. then I want to go to all the way at the bottom. So this is going to take some finessing, but I just keep moving it around till I get it to where I want it to be. And then, of course, then my actual highlighted part.